Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Shakayla. I create and share delicious plant-based recipes and inspiration. If you're returning, big hugs. Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. It means so much to me that you're here. When I posted my last video, I mentioned that I made chili for my husband and me, and he isn't plant-based. If you're new here, my husband isn't plant-based, but I am. But I made a chili for us, and I added my mushroom and walnut meat to it, and he was able to take a portion of it and add his own meat substitute to it. And I had asked y'all, like, hey, do we want to see a video of like more meals similar to the chili and how my husband and I make our dinner, lunch, or even breakfast work for our household? And so many people were like, yes, please show us how you do it. So in this video, I'll be sharing some recipes and meal inspiration of how you can also follow the same, so that you're not necessarily cooking two different meals for you and your family, or you and your significant other. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So the first recipe that we'll be making is a breakfast hash. When I was thinking about ideas and recipes for families or people who may live with someone with a different diet, and maybe you're the primary person cooking in your household, I feel like a breakfast hash is really a good way to go. It starts with the base of veggies. So you have sweet potatoes, which you see that I'm cooking here. So I just diced those, and then I added some olive oil, salt, black pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and smoked paprika, as well as some dried parsley. And then I just threw that in the oven on 400 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes until they were tender, but also a little crispy. Next veggies that I'm prepping are red onions and bell pepper. So I just cut up a green bell pepper as well as a red bell pepper, and we are going to saute that on the stove until it's tender. So I'm actually going to be enjoying my breakfast hash with my fava bean tofu scramble. This is just some firm fava bean tofu. I crumbled it, added in some turmeric, onion powder, garlic powder, smoked paprika, black salt, which is also known as kalonamic. It gives meals an eggy flavor, and then some black pepper. I added in some water to just help everything combine. One thing I did forget was nutritional yeast, so be sure to add that and then mix that up. So while my tofu scramble is marinating in the seasonings and those flavors, we are going to add in some cherry tomatoes as well as spinach to our veggie mix. We're going to just season it up with some salt, black pepper, and all-purpose seasoning as well. Here you can add whatever seasonings you prefer. It's totally up to you. Then once our sweet potatoes are done in the oven, we are going to add them in here. They look so good. Y'all see the crisp on it? Yeah. Yes, yes, and yes. Now, at this point, you can actually take half of this and set it aside for the person who may have a different diet than you, and cook it up with their preferred protein. So I'm using a tofu scramble. If my husband was enjoying this, maybe he would want to add some eggs to it, or he may want to cook up his meat source of protein. So that would be what I set aside for my husband. Now, this is one of those quick and easy breakfast ideas that's fully customizable for you, your family, significant other. You have yours with the tofu scramble, and they can have theirs with whatever source of protein they choose. Next recipe is a pasta dish. Y'all, this was actually a new one. I've never made this one before, and it was off the chain. We're making a sun-dried tomato pesto. So I started out with some sun-dried tomatoes. I added in some pecans. You can do walnuts or pine nuts, whichever you choose, or you can even leave them out if you don't eat nuts or you're allergic to them. Then I added in some nutritional yeast, some garlic cloves, and some of the sun-dried tomato oil, a little bit of water, some salt, and black pepper. And if you have questions about some of the appliances or cookware that I'm using in this video, it's going to be linked in the description box. So this is how we want the pesto to look. Y'all, this was so good. I actually used some of it for a sandwich. That's how good it was. So I went ahead and reserved some of the pasta water because we're going to use that once we combine everything. I cooked up mushrooms for my portion of this. So I just added the mushrooms in the pot. I didn't add any oil or anything at that time to cook out some of that liquid. And after most of the liquid had cooked out of the mushrooms, I went in with some of the sun-dried tomato oil. I used onion powder, garlic powder, dried oregano, dried basil, dried parsley, smoked paprika, salt, and black pepper. Last thing that I added to the mushrooms is some dairy-free Parmesan. All the brands of products that I've used will be listed in the description box as well. And after I let those cook up for a bit, I removed them and just set them aside because this is what I'm going to use in my portion of the pasta. In that same pot, I went in with some coconut milk to kind of help deglaze the bottom of that dish. Then I added in some of that sun-dried tomato pesto that we made, as well as the pasta that we were cooking and the reserved pasta water. At this point, you can add whatever veggies you prefer. I went in with some spinach and I let that cook down. And so here is where you can set aside, I mean, if your family likes mushrooms, you can definitely use mushrooms for this, but here is where you can set aside a portion for your family and they can enjoy it with their own source of protein. A good amount of the time, my husband is okay eating a fully plant-based meal. Like, he doesn't have an issue with that, but sometimes he does want to add his own source of protein, which is perfectly fine. And you may be in a similar situation. This is just the base of the dish. Most of the time, if people want more and they want to add more to these meals, it will require an additional step, but it's way better than cooking two completely separate meals. So this last recipe is a stuffed bell pepper recipe. I started out by halving the bell peppers and removing the insides. You can even just cut off the tops and do it that way if you choose. And we do have to bake these, so I added down some veggie broth to a baking dish and I added in the bell peppers. I seasoned them with salt, some black pepper, and I sprayed some olive oil. And I baked these in the oven on 400 degrees for about 15 minutes. Now with stuffed bell peppers, you can stuff these with whatever you choose. But I'm going in with some more diced bell peppers as well as diced onions, cooking that until they are tender. Then I'm adding in some minced garlic, and then I'm seasoning that up with some salt and black pepper. I added in some cooked rice that I had set aside. I added some tomato paste and vegan Worcestershire sauce. Ooh, I said that kind of good. I'm so proud of myself. Oh my gosh. I gave that a good mix, and then I added in some veggie broth to really just help bring everything together. And after everything was combined, I seasoned it up with some onion powder, garlic powder, cumin, salt, black pepper, and more smoked paprika. Now, at this point, you can set aside a portion of this for your family, for yourself, and add your own source of protein to it. Maybe your family likes ground beef or ground chicken. You can add that to a portion of this. I went in with my mushroom and walnut meat. Y'all know I'm a mushroom and walnut meat girly, so I've really been enjoying that. I do have a video showing you how to make the mushroom and walnut meat linked in the description box. I was actually enjoying these all to myself, so I didn't have to worry about splitting this in half. And I ended up topping this with some vegan cheese that I put through a grater. Either putting vegan cheese through a food processor or grating it helps it melt a lot better. And I would recommend topping it with a baking sheet. The baking sheet really helps the cheese melt better. Something else I did, which I forgot to record, is I just poured more veggie broth inside the baking dish to help allow some of that steam to come up and melt the vegan cheese even more. I baked this in the oven on 400 degrees for about 20 minutes, just until the cheese had melted a bit more. And I topped it with some dairy-free plain unsweetened yogurt. Y'all, these were chef's kiss. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope those meals made your mouth water, and I hope that it gave you all the inspiration that you needed to make dinner, breakfast or even lunch, simple for you and your family, so that you're not cooking 2 meals every time. Okay, 2 meals every time is too much work. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. That lets me know that you actually enjoyed this video. Leave a comment letting me know what you thought as well, which recipe you plan to try. I had a lot of fun like coming up with these ideas. I'm like, what could we make? And I have a lot more, so let me know if this is something that you want to see more of. But I hope that you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye.